You know, when we think about making a huge change, especially something like starting a business, we tend to romanticize the big, splashy moment, the leap. But what if the real beginning, the one move that actually sets everything in motion, is way quieter? What if it isn't an action at all, but just a moment of recognition?
This quote, it just perfectly sets the stage for what we're talking about today. It's not about trying to feel ready. It's about finally acknowledging a truth that's already there, that's already been shaping things behind the scenes. It's not about invention, it's about recognition.
So let's start by taking apart a really common and honestly pretty unhelpful myth. I'm talking about the myth of the heroic leap.
Our culture is obsessed with stories of dramatic action, right? The day you quit your job, the moment you launch the company. We point to those things and say, that's where it all started. But here's the thing, that's not the real beginning. The true story begins way before any of that. It starts with a quiet internal moment, a simple private admission of truth.
Okay, to make this really concrete, let's zoom in on a short story from our source material that just perfectly captures this idea. We call it the steering wheel moment.
See, this is where it starts. It's not in some big boardroom or on a stage. It's in a parked car on what was probably a totally normal morning. It's this deep, sinking feeling of misalignment, you know? That feeling that you're just playing a part in your own life. And I bet that's a feeling a lot of us can recognize.
And this is the piece that everybody misses. Nothing actually happened on the outside. There wasn't a big confrontation, no dramatic announcement. The entire world-changing shift, it was completely internal. It was just a private, brutally honest admission to oneself.
And there it is. That's the recognition. It's not some complex multi-point business plan. It's just a raw, undeniable statement of fact. Saying that, even if it's just to yourself, is the key that unlocks the door to a whole new story.
Now, this is really interesting because it frames this whole idea in a way a founder can appreciate. As founders, we're always looking for leverage, right? The one move it gives us the biggest return. Well, this argues that the most powerful move you can possibly make, especially in the beginning, isn't a strategy or a tactic. It's simply acknowledging what is real.
So here's the core lesson, the big takeaway. The real work isn't about building a new chapter from nothing. The work is to stop pretending the old chapter is still working for you. That honesty, right there, that's the real foundation. Everything else you want to build has to be built on top of that.
All right, so we've got this powerful story. Now let's do what we do and codify it. Let's turn it into a strategic principle that we can actually put to work.
We're giving this idea a name, narrative recognition. It's basically a formal way to describe what happened in that car. It's the framework that helps you understand that you can't build a new story for yourself until you first recognize the truth of the one you're currently in. It's the diagnosis before you can even think about the prescription.
The thing about narrative recognition is that it doesn't usually feel like this big, profound lightning bolt moment. Actually, it rarely does. It feels like these little things. That sigh, a random thought you have in the shower, that little whisper that keeps popping up, or just that heavy feeling on a Monday morning. These aren't just feelings, they're data points. They're telling you that your current story is expiring.
So, how does this actually apply to a founder? Well, this isn't some philosophical exercise. This is the work of week one. This is the very first, most critical move you have to make. Before the business plan, before you look for funding, before you even buy the domain name, there is this. The simple, incredibly powerful act of admitting that the life you have right now no longer fits. This admission is what creates the empty space your new venture needs to grow into. Without it, you're just building on a cracked foundation.
Okay, so what do you do with this? How do you make it real and actionable? It all comes down to making a conscious shift, a move from pretending everything's fine to taking ownership of your own story. And the process is, well, it's deceptively simple. First, you just acknowledge. Go back in your own memory and find your steering wheel moment. What was it? Name it. Second, capture it. Write down that simple, unvarnished truth. And here's the key, there is absolutely no pressure to do anything about it. The goal isn't to create a to-do list, it's just to create a record of your truth. So I'll leave you with this. This is the question that narrative recognition demands you ask yourself. What is the one truth about your work or your life or your ambition that you've been avoiding saying, even to yourself?
Look, just acknowledging that truth, that is the beginning. That's the move from pretending to ownership. It's the real first step. And once you've named that truth, you've laid the foundation. The story you build on top of it, well, that can finally begin.